Hi everyone, welcome to Live from the Studio. I'm with Electric Kitchen. I launched the show a little bit earlier, but I was on the wrong YouTube stream, so fix it and now the show can start. Alright, let me launch the intro. Welcome everyone, I'm with Electric Kitchen. So first we are going to do a little bit of the news. Alright, you know about my website, pitchymango.org, please check it. I would like also to thank all my supporters for joining my Bandcamp community. It's $20 a month that allow me to do this show, make music, etc. I see a lot of people have joined. I see Special Lux, Chris Meyer is here. He will be on the next show in 2 weeks. Matthew Campagna, Peronosphora, Malarkey, Alpha Ster, and I think I saw Kako Guzman music a little bit earlier. So welcome everybody. Don't forget to say hi on the chat and subscribe and like. That would be awesome. All right, what do we have? We've got Resident Monthly that will be on. I've got the date, 10th of August, so it's on second Tuesday of the month. I haven't put the sign-up form. You will find them on improviser.com. I'll do it this weekend. And you can sign up for the next event. Resonant Frequency is coming in person again on the 1st of August, so it's the first Sunday of the month. It's at 6 p.m. Sign up are at 5 if I'm not mistaken. And we'll talk a little bit more about it with Electric Kitchen, who's doing some behind-the-scenes stuff with the crew of Resonant Frequency. I've got a Peak also. Peak was last Wednesday. Let me put the link. You get the link before I talk about it, so that's a magic. So you've got a Peak that was last Wednesday, and it's on the third Wednesday of the month, so the next one will be on the 18th of August, and Peak said that they will be online for quite a little bit as they figure it out how to come back in person again. Same with Resident. So Resonant Frequency, I'm glad Resonant Frequency is starting online. Starting in person again, so looking forward to meet everybody again. Alright, the next one I wanted to talk is about Synesthesia. They've got a show tomorrow featuring artists, so it's about the Stop Asian 8, and they've got a pin, and it's tomorrow at 5 p.m. So if you want to check that one out, it's also by improviser musicians. Let's go in the Bandcamp side. So I wanted to, I don't know, I'm doing a little bit of personal promo. I've started to work on an album. I've recorded it on my Modular Synth. I'm doing the mixing, mastering, and I'm starting to upload some of the tracks on Bandcamp for my community, so you can get it there. There's 9 tracks. I've pushed only 5 so far, so I plan to upload 1 every month now, something like that. And I want to get one as Dolby Atmos, so I want to select 1 track and release it as a single as Dolby Atmos while I figure everything out. What else did I see on Bandcamp? I saw that Lisa Belladonna's released a new album, and I don't know why. I was checking on my email. I didn't see too much new album in this past 2 weeks, so I'm not sure if it's a little bit dull moment or if I miss all the announcements. So if you know about any interesting album, just put it in the chat and I'll try to look them up. Alright, so I'm with Electric Kitchen, so let me change all my settings. Here we go. Hi Electric Kitchen, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
All right.
How are you?
I'm doing fine, except this false start. Thanks for letting me know. It happens.
Drama.
No, everybody is here, so welcome. Let's start. Who are you?
Who am I? I'm Mark. I'm Mark Lenzner. Let's see. I have been playing modular synthesizers since the 1970s. I actually started my first real explorations were on really early Moog, well, the Moog modulars, the really large ones, and a Buchla 100 system that I had access to at a place called Public Access Synthesizer Studio in New York, which was this amazing resource where a teenager, me, could rent a Buchla for an hour for like $3. It was an amazing space. I would go in there and I barely had any idea what I was doing, and play around and make cassette tapes of crazy sounds and noises and music. Yeah, and then I went on to formally study electronic music. Not that you could you can't sort of formally study it. I studied under the composer Ivan Cherepnin, who was an electronic music composer, and much of the audience might actually know probably more his brother Serge Cherepnin, who is of the eponymous Serge synthesizer modular. So I also got to spend some time with Serge and in the factory when it was in San Francisco. So that was my background a very long time ago, and I've been making computer and electronic and experimental music ever since.
So I guess the question is, are any of these tapes left?
Any of what left?
Tapes. The tapes.
Oh, the tapes. Yeah, there are some of those tapes. You might have to feed me a lot of beer before I'll play them.
Well, that could be interesting. Yeah, that sounded like a nice space. There's I don't know, a space like that, the Vintage Synthesizer Museum in
Yes.
Emeryville, where you can get access to a lot of equipment. And I think somebody was talking about doing a synth library here.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I like all these. There's a little bit of a tradition, especially in San Francisco and at least in New York at that time, of trying to make electronic music accessible to anybody. The Surge was originally called the People's Synthesizer because it was designed to be much, much cheaper than Buchla and Moog, so that people could make them and have access to this stuff. And I like that. And I like a lot of now there's a big DIY movement, and people can buy cheap kits on a variety of places like Adafruit and just put together small musical things, and that's great.
Yeah, that's quite cool. Yeah, it's very democratic, and also you've got tools like VCV if you're not going in the hardware yet.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so was it, I don't know, to learn with Ivan and when Serge was passing by?
Yeah, so I spent 4 years studying under Ivan, and I spent a whole summer with Serge, which was all pretty great. I also spent a summer at Karma, the Stanford facility, with their computer music things, in some sense it was a short period of time, but it was extremely influential, and I've retained my friendship with Serge ever since. So he's always sort of in the background, and I'm always amazed. He's always so encouraging and so positive, and he's sort of a great touchstone to have. I'm really blessed for that.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't know. Sometimes I chat with him, and he's very approachable, and we never met. I don't know. Was in a forum together, and I say hi. And sometimes I say hi. I don't know. No, he lives in around Paris, so the next time I go there, I'll try to see if I can see him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't start up this camera. All right.
Oh.
This is my day. Yes. I don't know. So I have a question for peronosphora. So, what piece of electronic music equipment you would like to carry with you? In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. First off, one of the great weird things about electronic music is what constitutes an instrument. I mean, is everything on my table here? Here, I'll give you a quick view. There, I swatched it. This is everything that's on my table at the moment. Is that one instrument? Is it three? Is it four? I mean, there are four metal boxes, but I don't know. But I'll ignore the philosophy. Currently, if I had to go to a desert island today, I would bring the pulsar. This is the Soma Instruments Pulsar, which is a semi-modular, percussion-oriented, organismic, it's a hard word to say, organismic synthesizer. I would bring this. It's very expressive, and although it has a sound, that's fine. You know, a cello has a sound. It's still a great instrument. It has a sound, but it's extremely expressive and extremely, for the kinds of work I do, it's very flexible. So I'd certainly bring this. I don't know. I really enjoy working with samples, and as many people, if you see my work, I play a digitact, although not today, and I find that to be a wonderful self-contained. You know, it's not the most. It doesn't do everything in a sampler, but it does enough that it's very flexible. So I find that to be a very playable instrument. You can see this theme. I'm looking for things that are playable. And the third synth. What would I bring as this third synth? I would bring something that played like actual tones and chords, because I do sometimes like a little tonality in my music. But I have to say I don't really have a favorite there. I kind of bounce around. I could bring a Micro Monster, which is this small unit out of France that I've been playing for a while. I just got a Hydrosynth. That's kind of fun. But I don't know, something that made noise. Nothing in particular.
Yeah. Oh, Alpha say you might need a Soma Enno.
The Enno is probably. I'm not sure I know how to play that yet.
Yeah, I think it's just been released, so.
Yeah.
It will take a little. It will take a couple of weeks before you reach our shores, I guess, and then somebody will have it, and we will be able to experiencing. Oh yeah, and Chris is talking about the Soma pipe. All right, we've got some Soma aficionados here today.
I see. Yeah. The thing about Soma instruments is that each one is they're definitely very playable. They're definitely very. They allow you to explore their space really deeply, but their spaces are really, really different. Like, I know everyone asks me like, "Oh, do you have a lyra to go with your pulsar?" And I'm like, "No, lyra doesn't. Like, I don't think I would do a lyra. Lyra isn't quite what I'm after personally, or at least I don't currently have a musical need for a lyra. I should put it that way." You know, so similar like of the Soma stuff, this is the current instrument I'm sort of happy with.
Yes. Yes, and so also what you have got in front of you is what you use for the performance that we'll see a little bit later.
Yeah. Here, I can swatch a little bit here if you can avoid seeing my. Wait. Look, you can get my face and my equipment. Here we go. Yeah, so this is what's in the piece that's today. This is the pulsar with its 4 voice modules, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's an amazing effects unit and a tremendous amount of CV manipulation craziness. And then over here, I've got this is the Surge system I built in the 80s from kits from Surge himself. So that was, so this is, you know, Surge, in some sense, has a very different feel than Eurorack in that, like, certainly this era Surge, like, there's no switching modules in or out, right? You know, I designed this layout of these 3 racks, and the front panels are custom printed. That's how they were made for that, and like that's those. So this is an instrument that I've been playing for 30 years, and that gives you. I like that. It makes me feel very intimate with it. Like I really know it, and I know where everything is, and I kind of know how it goes. There's a few other things here. This is a tiny box that I designed and built called Pulsar Buddy, which is for doing non-4/4 meters. My music. I really like to explore meters other than 4/4 or 2/4. And so this is a box designed to do clock division and clock multiplication to get you like a variety of interesting meters. This system out here, which you can barely see, is on the edge. That's a Raspberry Pi. This is a display unit that I've kind of cobbled together with a ribbon cable to it, and this is just a stock cord controller. And this is running some custom software I wrote called Bicycle, which is a MIDI looper, and that allows me to play the drum pad, which I have over here, and play and play real, you know, live performed drum riffs into the system and keep those on call and play them. I like that. So there's nothing in this whole system is sequenced in the traditional sense. Other bits and bobs. There's if you have eagle eyes, you'll have noticed a Soma ether over here. which is a radio interference pickup device. And I think that's everything.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I was showing on the GitHub page for the bicycle and the pulsar buddy.
Yeah, all my stuff is open source, so which means of course it's 90% working, 10% broken, but join in and have fun.
It's okay. You just don't use the 10%. That's all.
That's right.
Yeah, and people can get your. I think also you sell a Pulsar Buddy kit.
Yeah, the Pulsar Buddy I sell actually both as a kit and assembled, although I'm out of assembled units at the moment because it's summer and I haven't built any. But yeah, that had enough interest that it made sense to kind of build a bunch. So there's a bunch of those. There's still about a dozen left. So, but I haven't built them yet. So as soon as there are kits available, and it's. I will point out that, well, you can't see because it's off screen at the moment, but it was designed for the Pulsar, and so it uses the same alligator clips. These weird, you see these? There we go, alligator clips. And of course, because I built it for me originally, it also has banana jacks, which works for the surge. It does not have 3.5-inch jacks. It is not modular. It is not eurorack friendly, but that's because the form factor didn't make any sense for eurorack at the moment. You can, of course, interface it to eurorack. If you want. So, but yeah, that is available. That actually is a very interesting thing about both of these synthesizers. Both banana jacks and alligator clips are single wire systems, which I believe, for me, allows me, you can really play the patch much more than you can with 3.5-inch millimeters because of ground connections and that, a Pulsar, everyone, most people look at it and complain like, I can't believe you're using these janky, hard to use alligator clips. But there's a lot of cool things you can do with them. I mean, you can really sit here and play rhythms by tapping them and touching them, which is just, there's no way you can do that on the other jacks. You can do that to some degree on bananas, somewhat. And it's very easy to repatch bananas live with no pops. But alligator clips, despite the kind of goofy nature of them, they're very playable. It's interesting to think about patch wires being playable. That to me is the essence of what modular is about.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know on the modular somebody made some kind of a touch plate to go on the, where you use your body to close the circuit.
Right, yeah, All Flesh by, I can't remember the name at the moment.
Yeah. But yes, that's an interesting concept to have the patch more playable.
And, actually, the Pulsar has this amazing feature that because of the way the impedances are done, you can actually literally just touch two pins together, and you're actually patching them through your body, which is crazy and wonderful.
Yeah, that's quite cool. I guess I'm sure they made it on purpose. They may find it by accident and say, okay, let's keep that one running.
Yeah. Or sometimes you don't. I mean, sometimes you're just like, yep, that's just a little expressive gesture. Can you guys hear that?
Yes.
You can. Yeah. Right. So I'm like, so I'm just playing this pitch, and then I'm just touching these 4 pins together with my fingers, getting that variance. Cool.
Yeah, that's quite nice. Oh yeah, Chris Mayer say landscape all flesh.
That's it, landscape. Right. Yeah.
All right. Yes, and okay, we'll get soon to your performances. Nearly about time. Before we get there, wanted to talk a little bit about resonant frequencies.
Oh yeah. So resonant frequencies was conceived by Kevin Reid. I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I always mess it up. Kevin. 3.5 years ago, as a way to encourage live performance of electronics and experimental music. As he always said, it's let's make the scene we want there to be. And so it's an open mic, and the goal is to encourage people, both experienced and new, to perform on their electronics, whatever those electronics happen to be, but with a real emphasis to the live nature. And it's a really welcoming place to experiment, to workshop new ideas. If you've never performed live before, it's a great place to come and do your first one because it's a very welcoming open space and it'll all be good, we promise. Of course, like everyone else, we were forced, we've been live every month, almost every month for the first 2 years of its existence, and then we were forced online. And we took a really bold step and continued to produce the online show completely live, which was a bit of a production feat. And we've been doing that not every month because it's really hard to do, but every couple months for the last year and a half. And we're really happy that in this August, just got 2 short weeks, we will be back live again in Oakland. So come musicians, it's open mic, come between 5 and 6 and sign up for a slot. About 15 minutes long per slot, could be longer or shorter depending on how many people we get. There will be live visualists playing with it. They do live electronic experimental visuals or sometimes analog visuals, and so it's a great scene and a great place. And, yay, we're back because it's all about being live and being with other people. So.
Yeah, that was awesome that you kept it, all performance live and I know all the work it takes, so that was really cool. And and it's a nice I look forward to see you, I guess, on the 1st of August.
Absolutely.
That would be
even
nice.
if you're not playing, come down.
Yes, I'm still undecided about playing, but I will come down. I will be there.
Excellent.
And that's really cool. And all the performance end up on YouTube one way or the other. Either it's live or either it's
almost always. Yeah, we try to actually document the whole thing with a multi-camera shoot, and we then cut them up. And again, that's part of what we think about fostering the community. We do that in part because, especially for new performers, it's really kind of amazing to go like, oh wait, like there's a video of me performing. Like you can go back and see what was going on, and see it and see what it's like. So
yeah, it's cool.
They're all showcase. Yeah, we have a pretty large archive at this point. It's pretty great.
Yes. And I see Bill is here. He says he's driving, so he's just saying he's listening and driving.
Our master visualist.
Yes. Also known as Dirty Bill, if you are looking for his site. Mm-hmm. I did on the show, I don't know, a few shows back, so if you want also you can check the interview with Bill. So as we are talking about performance, and before we talk about your performance I will launch soon, Interphone was asking what instrument you would like to have that you don't.
What instrument I'd like to have that I don't?
That exists or that you would like to build.
Yeah. So I would say actually I'm pretty happy with the sound source and like the sources of the sounds that I have. I'm pretty happy with as a whole. The thing I'm always really looking for is controllers. Actually, is the thing I'm looking for. I still haven't found one that really hits all the right buttons. If you see my work, you know that I play a lot of them. Like I've been playing this drum pad, bot pad. I play a launch pad for notes as a key grid. I play this the ring, which you will see in the performance, which many people call the wizard ring, which allows me to control things, which I love. This has been a big boon. But I'm still looking for. It would be nice to have something that was a little more tactile. I know there's a few possible things out there. They haven't the Sensei Morph, Sensible Morph, and some others, but I'm still hoping for a flexible controller. The key thing is flexibility and setup. I kind of compose. Every piece has different needs, and it's nice to be able to like build. The same way we build our instruments for every piece, because patching is essentially building a custom instrument for a piece. We also I want to be able to patch my controller together to make it have the parts I need for that piece. So that doesn't exist yet. I'd like that.
That sounds cool. So, do you want to talk to us a little bit about your performance?
I'll talk a little bit about it. I think the things. So when you asked me to do this, one of the things you pointed out was that the show generally is modular focused, and so I sort of pulled out all the modular stops. It's like, okay, I'm gonna play both the pulsar and the surge. The things I was looking for when I built this piece, you'll see there aren't the voices aren't all distinct. I don't really patch my systems as like, oh, there is the bass voice and there is the like almost everything. There's I think 75 plus patch chords out here. There's a lot of patch chords here. Almost everything is cross-modulated with something else in the set or in the piece. Lots and lots of triggers, because I do play very rhythmic music, or well, music that has a rhythmic basis, I should say. Lots of triggers are actually triggering multiple things within inside the set. So, and I often I'll move around what it's playing. So I think of this whole thing as like a sound mass, not a voice or 4 voices or 6 voices. And what I'm doing is like moving what parts of the mass are on or off at any given moment. So think of it that way. And the other thing is just there's a lot of control. The ring has 3 basically control voltages that come out over here on the side, and then they're patched all over the place. And the drum pad is running drum triggers which come out over here and are used everywhere. And there's some live control here. And then the last thing that I'm sort of exploring in this piece, and then I'll shut up, you can listen to it. So this is the Soma Ether, and it's, as he likes to say, it's a radio receiver without a tuner. So it just picks up all the radio waves that are around. And I use this to explore the electromagnetic space of the patch. And the interesting thing is, like, you can actually hear at points I'll point to that like a low LFO, and you can hear the LFO just in a completely different way because I'm picking up the varying electromagnetic. This adds something to the piece in that I have to explore because the electromagnetic spectrum is different every time I play this. I did a bunch of rehearsals, and like I have to go find where the interesting stuff is at the moment, and I find that very interesting. That makes for a piece that has exploration in the performance.
And quite unique. All right, so let's watch this performance then.
Excellent.
Wow, that was really awesome. I really like the let's say experimentation, but more of the expressiveness of this performance.
Thank you.
And, you know, and yeah, you see what you're doing, and you know, the editor was also interesting, looking for the sweet spot.
Right. It's amazing that it moves so much, but yeah, trying to find the interesting sounds in the space.
Yeah, and playing back with it, because you know you get a feedback and then you change it, and then
right,
it starts to have a life on their own. All right, people are saying yeah.
Oh, yay! Thank you all. Oh, I see. Oh, thank you all. Yay!
Yeah, they are like you know, they're like 20 seconds behind the stream, so.
Yes.
But yeah, I've got John Field, who I met at Mockfest. So it's really awesome that you joined, and Fawaz K, Maraki, peronosphora, Chris, Special Lux, peronosphora, and Mariana, who's the same person. And I revealed the secret identity. And yeah,
I think that was my first performance on LinkedIn.
Yes, indeed. I don't know. I've been asking them to give me access to the live, and then finally it worked. So I'm going to continue to do that. I like to mix a little bit of art in the work. Right. Sometimes some of these posts are a little bit dull and boring. So
right.
And yeah, and I've connected with a lot of people there. So let's forget about that. Let's talk about the performance. So what got you? I think you talk about it. You know, you wanted to. I told you it was mainly modular, the show, but you know, what got you to create this stuff?
So I think a lot of my pieces, the whole first, you know, I spent about a week developing sort of the meta instrument, right? All of this, and I say the patch, but you can even see, well, there's a little bit of patching in that performance. Other patch systems I do more. But over the course of a week, I spent sort of pulling together the sounds, the palette that I wanted, that I got. Roughly here. This, I don't know if people can see that. I think they can.
Yes.
Oh, it's, yeah. Yeah, oh, well, it's not perfect at all. So I was going to point to different modules, and that's kind of, yeah. Okay, back to this. So on the Surge, there's kind of this evolving drone element, which is something I use a lot, and something that I have over here are they're transient generators. You give them a pulse and they go up and down. You can set them to loop easily. And importantly, because they're CV controlled, you can actually change the shape by feeding back. You can change the shape of the curve. So I basically have 4 very flexible low frequency oscillators, and they're cross-modulating each other, and that gives you a lot of variability in what's going on. And that's actually a big trick in Surge is to cross-modulate your slews or your transients, and that's driving this sort of basic dronal noise patch, which I play sometimes whole, but often it's gated by the other parts. And then I kept adding on to that. That was like the first thing I built, and then I, you know, meshed. I wanted to extend the bass drum sound because there needs to be a pulse, but I wanted to extend it, and so that's using the really amazingly resonant Surge filters, so it's sort of capitalizing on the strength of the Surge. And so building out all these sounds and then figuring out what to do with the ether and how to filter that to make it sound interesting and be controllable. And then this whole thing grew, and then I spent about another week trying to kind of work out what the flow of the piece was. You know, which sections would be very rhythmic, which sections would be slow and explorative. You know, and try to get sort of a form there. So there's a form that. And then it just took a lot of sort of running through it again and again and again and refining it until at some point I was like, oh, this is good. Like, I'll stop, because if I keep going, I'll just mess it up.
Yes, that's this moment. Do you take note, or it's just mental memory of
I
what's it?
usually do take some notes. This piece, oh, I don't have them here. They're. I mean, I have notes for another piece. I usually take loose structural notes, especially when there are things I have to remember to do. Like there was a spot in the piece where I repatched something, and like I have to remember to do that at that point because if I go into the next section and I've forgotten to do the repatch, it won't work. So there's usually that. I do. I have a permanent multi-camera setup in the studio, and so I just record everything. So I have the recordings of the first 6 run-throughs, and they're terrible, so I just will delete them. But that way, if I get a run-through that I'm like, okay, this is the one to work with. Both I can go back and review it. So if I want to replay it or go through, do it one more time like that way, and then when I do a good performance, it's done. I have it recorded.
Yeah, that's cool. Many people say usually the third take is the right one when you record for a show.
Yeah, I always believe there's this rule of odds.
Yes.
So if I'm going to perform live, I always do an even number of rehearsals. Because like the first one is like, oh, that's good, I'm getting what I want, and then the second one I'm always disappointed, and then the third one I've done better, and the fourth one I'm disappointed. So I always want to have the live performance be the odd one.
That's a good technique. I'll have to remember this one.
Yeah.
That's nice. And you talk a little bit about some tips. I don't know if somebody wants to get into Surge or Pulsar. What do you recommend?
So I think certainly, absolutely for Surge and Pulsar because of the way these instruments are constructed. But I think it's true. It can be true for almost any modular system is to try to break yourself away from thinking about voices or fixed voices. I mean, there's nothing wrong with fixed voices. It's just we have fixed voices in many other ways, and a lot of the power or a lot of expressive space you can get into with modular has to do with stopping to thinking of something as a fixed voice. They're really interacting parts, they're interacting modules, they're interacting pieces. And so I always generally, while I might think there are distinct timbres or parts to it, the thing I would say is push yourself to think not about like, oh, this is my bass voice. Like, okay, well, if you plug something that's a bass voice, then think about like, what control voltage from my hi-hats can I put into that bass voice? What control voltage from the bass modules can I put into the hi-hat? So it's just beginning to make things more interactive and interconnected as a system, I think leads to the strength of modular. So I would say do that. And listening. It's all about, I think a lot about listening and exploring. The thing electronic music opened up in music was timbre. It was timbre space that you could create interesting sounding sounds separate from what pitch they were at because you really had control over that. And so I think to me that's listening carefully to the machine and listening to how the timbres can be made to change. That's how you get the most out of these things, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess interesting. Also, I was watching some YouTube, some music production things, and you've got the main voice, and then from there you try to drive something which is a little bit more subliminal. So you create some artifacts from the same voice,
okay.
and I've been thinking, okay, how I do that with in modular also, and that's interesting to get maybe your main voice that is controlling another one in some odd ways.
Right.
And get this interaction, and sometimes just break the rule. It's modular. You
Right.
do whatever you want. No, that's quite cool. And I've seen you with the Pulsar a little while. I didn't know too much about your Surge area till I started to see you. Was it for Modules that you did a piece for on the
Yes.
Surge?
I did a whole Surge piece for modulism because it was part of the Surge retrospective. The surge is a beast. I mean, I've had it for years, so it's definitely one of my main things. I don't think I could ever get rid of it. But it has, for me, it serves a particular musical purpose, and that's building these sort of hives of interacting modules that make sound. And so when I'm doing that, it's the instrument of choice. But I generally don't try to employ it in other things. I do a lot of other work that's sort of employs sampling a lot and has a more rigid rhythmic structure and even a more tonal structure. And I generally don't. I personally don't. Well, I like the sound of the elements of some of the surge. To bring this whole thing in for that doesn't seem appropriate. It's not the right instrument for those things. So it comes out sometimes, and much of the time it stays in its custom box. But yeah, so it depends on. I think about it as like it's the right instrument for a particular kind of musical choice.
You say also in the chat that it's a piece in 13/16.
Oh yeah. So
how do you get to that, and how do you work with that?
So I studied. I've always been really sort of fascinated by rhythmic structure, and I studied West African drumming for about 5 or 6 years as well, somewhere in my past. But I've always been fascinated and interested by how other rhythmic forms can be built up. And so I do a lot of work in 13. I don't know, I mean, most people are like, what? 13 is a very driving rhythm. It's the rhythm you hear at the very beginning of the piece and the rhythm at the very, very end. And many people say, oh, I can't count that high. It's actually very, very easy. It's 3 sets of 3 and a set of 4. It's very easy. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. It's you can learn it pretty quickly. And so I like that as a driving force. It has a great propelling feeling without. I mean, you could play triplets in 4/4, which would be similar. You could, of course, play just sort of slightly fast techno in straight 4/4 with 16th notes. But I find a lot of that musically has baggage. It implies something, and this is not that, right? This is not music for Trésor or Berghain. This is a different thing, and so the 13 gives me that kind of feeling that I really, really like without it coming with those other musical expectations. It's like if you're going to start playing chords and you play a 1-4-5 progression, people are going to expect what the next note is, and you can play with it, but you can't deny that people have got that. Like they already have all this history with that particular tonal sequence. So I like playing in 13. I like playing in 7. I've done a bunch of stuff in 5. 5 is a hard one for both listener and performer, I think.
And I guess 13. There's some musician that use 13, or you pick up that one.
I don't. I when I was exploring many years ago when I was studying African rhythms. I mean, there are no African rhythms in 13, as far as I know. I was thinking about how to build up. We very Western way of thinking of musical rhythm is to take the measure and divide it, and it's all about division, which is fine. It's a working method. From the African teachers that I studied from, a lot of way of thinking about rhythm is by building it up as cells. Like, oh no, you're gonna go play ba 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 ba, and then you're gonna play ba 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 ba. They build up things, and so I was looking at ways of building up rhythms rather than dividing rhythms. And somewhere along the lines, I was experimenting with building up things that were non-powers of 2 or non-multiples of 2 and 3, and I like this 13 one just really worked well. And I was like, okay, I like that. So I don't actually know anyone else who plays in 13 on any regular basis.
All right, if anybody plays in 13, put it in the comments.
Yeah, or hey, let's go get coffee.
Yes, that sounds good. This is also interesting to additive rhythm rather than subtractive rhythm.
Yeah, it's a different sense. There's a different way of thinking about that, and it makes for an interesting thing. And you can start to think about that in other structures as well. We do think additively, or in terms of cells that are added together melodically more often, but I like applying that approach. There's sections that are built up and then repeated as sections, and other things built onto them, and they may not simply be division of some grand number of measures.
Oh, here we go. Malaki say like 15/16. So
yeah, 15/16 is I find 15/16 is wow. It's like tripping constantly. You're like you keep falling right before that expected 16th note.
Yes, it's interesting to put the emotions to some rhythm and chord progression,
right,
and etc. Yeah, no, that's fine. Also polyrhythmic. Well, Malaki is an old weird rhythm, so I think you need to have coffee together.
Yeah.
Which you had before.
Polyrhythmic stuff is a lot of fun. I guess actually you were asking about things that if I wanted to give advice, I'll give out a lesson that it actually took me a really long time to learn. And the lesson is this: is accept your taste. Like, it's okay to do something because you like it. When we look at all these electronics and math stuff, we sometimes think, or at least I used to sometimes think, like, oh, every musical choice, like, it has to have a reason and a connection, and it has to make sense, and there's like these rules of music theory, and I need to know them so that I can break them, and there's all this rigidness. And somewhere along the line I would be like, well, what, like, why am I turning this filter up? Should I be turning the filter up? And it took me a long time to realize, like, oh, I'm turning it up because I like it. I'm playing in 13 not because 13 has some important meaning here in this music. I like the way it sounds. And it's okay to do stuff just because you like the way it sounds. I don't know, maybe most people don't have a problem with that. It took me a long time to feel comfortable with my own taste in the way things are.
Yeah, it's I've got some notion of harmony, but at the same time I didn't study it, so I'm compensating by do I like it or not. Right. But sometimes I'm struggling about getting some techniques, and so right. I'm learning the techniques sometimes to say, okay, to make a little bit. Right. Sometimes it helps explain what I'm doing. But yes, as they like to say, just use your ears, which is not which is a good advice, but not sometimes the best advice, because you don't know what does it mean.
Right.
But that's quite cool. Let's talk a little bit. Oh, I accept your taste, from Chris Meyer. And I think that's really good advice. What are your upcoming projects?
So I'm all right. This is, I think, the first public announcement. I am working on an evening length work. So it's currently projected at about 2 hours long, maybe 2.5. It will have several segments and parts and movements. It's a longer piece. It's designed to be performed live in concert. I have mapped much of it out and composed about a third of it, and insofar as one composes in this style, right? It's not notated. And I had originally hoped for maybe that it would be ready in late fall, but I'm thinking probably early 2022 is probably more realistic. And I'm hoping to be able to take it on tour and play it in multiple places. It's, much of my work is very, like, my music is journeys, right? I mean, they aren't, they're very, I think of them as very, like, they start someplace and take you through a travel. And so there are these, 15 and 20-minute arcs. That is the common stuff that I have and the stuff you can find that I play. And this has got a meta arc that's, 2.5 hours long. The other really interesting thing about this work is that it's designed expressly with collaboration in mind. And so there are parts of the work that I will be looking for other local electronic musicians at each venue to play with me. But that means that part of the work is very variable. It depends a lot on who that other person is and what they want to play and add to it. And so the whole work is very much about reconnecting with other people. And that also means accepting into other people's ideas and work into the work. So anyway, coming 2022 early, I hope. Well, yeah, certainly, maybe a little earlier than that. I don't know. But it's scary to play. Think about how do you play a 2 or a 2.5 hour work. Like,
yes,
you know,
yes, yes.
that's a concert, you know, with an intermission. And but
Or
I think,
at least you put an intermission.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't subject the audience to that much. But it's musically, I think you can explore something differently with that much time. I mean, not that it's one thing, but you can really go out. You know, 15-minute sets are a nice size, but you can only do so much in there.
Yes.
And so this allows a really greater expressive arc, and it's also frankly a big challenge for me. I mean, to be performing on a lot of electronics and make sure nothing falls apart. There's a lot that can go wrong, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's a good challenge. So that's what I'm working on. It's a big project.
Oh, that's cool.
It's about 6 months into it at this point. So.
Oh, that's cool, and nice to take some challenge. And as they say, in the theater near you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Any other projects or what's coming up?
No, that's all encompassing. You know, I do continue to work on the open source stuff. So the Pulsar Buddy and that's mostly done at this point. But I'm working on the MIDI looper a lot. If you're interested in non-quantized sequencing and also polyrhythmic and polymeter looping of MIDI, get in touch. There are 2 other musicians I know who are using it and exploring it. It does run on a Raspberry Pi. You can use it now, and it's fun. It makes for a very, you know, everything you say, everything right. I would play stuff on that drum pad, and that goes into the looper, and then I would play more things into the drum pad, and those go into multiple layers in the looper, all of which are controllable from well, in this case, but any MIDI controller will do. And that's a really interesting, fun project. That will get further developed because I need it for this performance. It's the basis of pretty much the whole show. So.
All right, that sounds cool. All right, that was a nice conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'll go back to the news and then also talk about, you know, quickly about the upcoming joint project that we will all have. All right. Let me swap a little bit. Let me put everybody on the screen. All right, there's you, me. We can talk about it together. All right. Sorry. Jangling. I need a nice controller like you to be able to change screen easily. All right. So you know about my site, pitchymango.org. Please check it out. I want to thank my supporters again. Please join the crowd. Resident Monthly will be on August 10. I'm going to put the sign-up form on beimproviser.com sometime this weekend, so you can sign up. It's on the second Tuesday of the month. Resonance Frequency is on the 1st of August, and that will be an in-person event at Soundwave Studio in Auckland. Looking forward to see everybody. Picked is online on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. It was last Wednesday, so you can watch it on YouTube, and you will get the next one. So as I've presented Resonant, Resident, and Peak, we got ourselves together and doing a kind of a little festival at the Grey Area, which will be on the 9th of September, Thursday night. So it's not yet announced, there's no ticket sale, but it should be coming in the next few days. Really excited about it. I think that's I don't know, cool. I don't know, to be in the downtown, and the Grey Area has been reopening, so we'll see.
No, it's great. I'm really, you know, it's great that these 3 groups have come together. We've been, all of us, building this experimental electronic scene here in San Francisco for the last couple of years, and it's nice. It's nice to see it grow and come together. It's an incredibly friendly scene, which I really like. It's nice for us to come in doing something that'll be more visible to the wider public than just us.
Yeah, that's quite cool, and which makes me think that we like to call ourselves Left Coast Light. Yes. You know, which is a group. It just happened that people are in the same room together. there's no site. There's only an Instagram page and a Discord. And I just put the invite to the Discord channel. So if you want to join Left Coast Light, you've got the Discord invite, and then that allows us to jump between all these events. And there's many more events happening. So it's a nice way. I like the more events, the better. The more groups, the more events, the better. The more choice. All right, I've got also Synesthesia. I'm getting confused. Synesthesia has got a show tomorrow about Stop Asian 8. It's at 5 p.m. You can sing the broadcast on YouTube. No, Twitch, sorry. They are broadcast on Twitch, but go on their site and you will see everything. I've got a new album in the making. It's called Passage. I've released only 5 tracks out of 9. I'm still working on the full track, and I'm gonna release one, I don't know, every week or so. And at the moment, it's available to subscribers. Once I know it's finished, then I'll make it public, and you can find it everywhere. Also, Lisa Belladonna has released a new album, Morning Light. I didn't see much new album, and nobody told me about it. And we go. So is that the first live music event at Grey Area since reopening? I'm not sure, because there was Recombinant Labs that did an event. There's a couple of events happening, but yes, there's not too many events at the moment on the Grey Area. So that's cool. And I was with Electric Kitchen. Let me put you on the main screen, and I can have the word for the end. Mark, your word for the end.
My word for the end. What is my word for the end?
Oh, wait. Before I do that, I forgot. I'm confused. Next show is on the 10th of... Why is it the 10th of July? Not the 10th of July. It's on... Well, I've got the wrong stuff. Okay. The next show is with Chris Meyer. Is in 2 weeks. It's in August 8. No, I forgot. But the next show is with Chris Meyer. It was supposed to be on the 10th of July, but Chris had a bad fall, and we have to reschedule. So it's in 2 weeks time from now, and hope to see you there. All right. No, I'm coming back to you.
Okay.
Sorry about that. All right. You had the time to think about it.
Okay. The word is organismic.
All right.
Like an organism. Organismic. Make your music organismic.
That sounds really awesome. Thanks everybody for joining the show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, go on Electric Kitchen, and also everywhere follow us. And August 7th, the next one with Chris Meyer. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Electric Kitchen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Take care, everyone.